Hello and welcome back to Tea and Crones. I of the people, Dahlia Rose. I work as an energy healer and practitioner in Woodbridge, Virginia. I'm here to support you and this tribe as we get to know Corby Midline and Katrina Rasbel on deeper levels and to bask in their wisdom. So with that said, why don't we start with introductions? If this is your first time with us, Katrina, take us away.
First time with us. Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for finding us. My name is Katrina Rasbold. I'm a published author and public speaker. I also teach classes on the internet through YouTube on my own YouTube channel, which you can find in our links. And I'm the co-owner of Crossroads Metaphysical Store, where I am a professional witch who does spell work for people and personal cleansings, astrology charts, tarot readings, things like that. And I've been working in the magical arts for around 40 years.
Wonderful. And next we have Corby.
Hi there. I'm Corby Midline. Been doing this since I was 18. I'm 66 next week. Certified Tarot Master, past life retrieval specialist. My specialty is knocking you upside the head with a clue brick, but making you laugh while I do. Tarot and oracle readings, intuitive counseling, numerology, past life retrieval. Yeah, I do mediumship, but I'm not dial-a-dead. And I think that about covers it.
All right, wonderful. Like I said when we first came on, welcome back. Today's episode is titled Books They've Written and Why They've Written Them. So we have two published authors as our lovely. And when I thought about this topic, one thing that struck me as powerful is the fact that these two women love what they do so much that they created a lengthy several pages of documentation on their practices, their passions, their experiences. Now, anybody can write anything in the world now. We can have blogs, we can have different ways of expressing ourselves and opinions, but when you go to publish a book, there's a permanence to that. There's a statement and a mark left in the world. And so I'm so excited to hear what Katrina and Corby have to say about topics, because it gives us insight into their background that they do. And again, you guys know I love them to death. So just any way that we can get to know them more is exciting. So let's begin. Let's start with Corby. Let's see what you've got in terms of well, you're a published author. Where do we start with that? What got you into wanting to write a book, or several?
Several. The reason I wanted to write is because for me, words are my drug of choice. And my father, God rest him, said, I don't care what you do, you must write something every day, because he understood it. He was a poet as well as a doctor. My first out there writing was 10 years for a graphic novel series called ElfQuest. But I hadn't published my own, and I decided I didn't want to wait for a publisher, so I just self-published. And the first book I wrote, it's called Clean Out Your Life Closet, and it's actually self-help, because I spoke with my clients and I said, what are the things you keep stumbling on? And the four things that were most important to them were clarity, adaptability, simplicity, and making friends with stress. So I said, cool. But people don't write, they buy self-help books, but they generally don't use them because they don't speak to them. It's a sexy title and a cool cover, and they open it at Barnes & Noble, and there are a couple of neat pages, but then they get it home and it's, she wants me to be vegan and do yoga 3 times a week. I had kids and I live in Milwaukee and I'm a secretary, and what the hell? So what I did is I structured the book differently. The chapters are basically, these are the dumb things I did. And then sometimes I'll use a client example, but then I'll present the ideas and follow it with what I call the adventure pages. And the adventure pages are the chance for you to use the book and make it yours, because there are no right answers. Things like, of the 4 kinds of people in this chapter, what are you? What does being that kind of person do for your life? Which of the 4 kinds of people do you want to have in your life and why? Now, there can't be a right answer to that in the back of the book because everyone's different. Right. So by the time you finish that book, if you've done all the answers at the back, that becomes your personal manual. Not mine, yours. And people have said they've never seen a self-help book out there like that, which was the whole point, because it's only half written until my people read it and answer the questions. So it's a joint effort.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So from what you're saying, it's an opportunity for us to write our story in that book. The
way I put it is through stories, examples, and the adventure pages, you can find your own answers, design your own toolbox, and discover that healing the old and creating the new can be a positive, joyful, and soul-satisfying experience. That's what you're supposed to do.
Awesome. Well, Katrina, let's hear about adventure writing, what it means to you, what got you into wanting to be an author. And
even when I was in grade school, I was writing books or stories quite a bit. And so I always knew that I wanted to be a writer. And by the time I was born in 1961, and around 2012, I had written a couple of books, and Eric and I had self-published them to the point that we actually printed out the books and saddle bound them and took them around to the different metaphysical stores and sold them there. But I wanted a truly published book, not one that looked the way we were able to do on our own. And I was very frustrated that I had not demanded more from myself and made that happen. And so what I did to really get the book out that I wanted to write is in January of 2013, I believe it was the 2nd of January, I contacted the coordinators of the Sacramento Celtic Fairy Festival who were looking for authors. And I said, I've written a book called Energy Magic, and I'd like to present on that. And they said, oh, we would love to have you. We're looking for local authors. And I booked an author appearance for June. I believe it was June 12th, if I remember right, for the book Energy Magic, which did not exist. I had not written the book yet. And by that June, I had actually, in fact, here it is. I'd actually written 3 books by that time. And this is Energy Magic. And this book, once I published it, was on the Amazon bestseller list for neo-paganism for 6 weeks. And so I'm very proud of it because it's my first published book in print. And so that was how I became I guess you'd say a professional writer, as I booked an author appearance for a book that did not exist. And since then, that first year in 2013, I'd really felt the frustration in December. So when January came, I said, I'm going to do this, and of 2013. And that year I published 13 books. And then now I have 38. 39 comes out in August. It's Uncrossing with Llewellyn. And so that's how I started writing books. And really, my message that I really want to get across to people is, if you have a book inside you, if you have a message you need to convey, there is no better time to get published. This is the moment to do it. It's so easy. Absolutely. And yeah.
No obstacles to that. And I love the inspired message in the day and age when you can erase a tweet and take down posts. Again, it says something that you guys would take the time to author books, to try and reach individuals in such a way that allows all that you have to be accessible, right? Like most individuals can enjoy a book, even on Amazon now, for an inexpensive amount of money. Or in some cases, like I know when Corby first publishes her book, for a little while it's free. So there's a lot of opportunity. Like nobody can say, oh, well, you know, they're always charging for this and that. It's like, come on, guys, you know, if you really want to pay community, you have both great resources. I think I'm in the middle here, so I'll say on either side of me to be able to reach folks with your words. Now, on the topic of your books, I'll ask each of you, do you have a favorite book baby that you have birthed? Corby, which one is your favorite?
Oh God, it's so hard.
Favorite children, right?
Kind of. Clean Out Your Life Closet was important because I was able to take everything that I learned simply living and put it out there. Psychic Yellow Brick Road was more what I had experienced doing the WikiWoo. So I really cannot say that I have a favorite because they have different purposes and they're all exactly what they need to be.
All right. Now, Katrina, 38 books.
Well, you know, like Corby said, they all came from me not in order to make money or be famous or anything like that, but because they were their own personality and message. So it is difficult to choose. There's a fictional book called The Dance Card that I especially like because it talks in detail about my reincarnation theory presented within a fictional format. This one right here was one of the ones that I wrote with Energy Magic, and it's called Leaving Kentucky in the Broad Daylight. This is an autobiography up to age 16. And it was special for me because I had a very difficult childhood and it let me heal some of those experiences and I guess make room for healing of those experiences by going back and retrieving some of the memories and working through them from a different perspective. This is one of my favorites because this was my first book that Llewellyn published. And having the moon on my book was big. I always wanted a book with a moon or an ankh on it if it was going to be wiser. And I had self-published for so long that there's not a feeling that you really know that you're good. Sure, sales are great, but lots of people buy books and then don't like them.
Right.
Or just don't have an opinion on them. And my books aren't overly expensive. And so it's easy for people to just not react when they buy one. But Crossroads of Conjure is the one that told me that somebody else thought I was good enough to publish. And that Llewellyn was happy with me. And they went on. I'm now, Uncrossing is my third book with them. And they've been a great, great support team. I could not ask for more. But so this one was important because this was somebody else saying, yeah, we believe in you and we want you to do this. These guys right here, I always said I can write nonfiction, but I can't write fiction. That's not my jam. That's not what I do. And then a story came to me and it had to be told. It would not be told. So these right here are the 5 books I've written of an 8-book series. I'm working on book 6 now. This is a post-Arthurian Avalon story.
Ooh.
And it started out because I wanted to write Avalon porn. And then I thought that would be nice, you know. And then the story took over. It just became such an interesting story that it demanded to be told. And the erotica kind of fell away from it. And it just became the structure of the story. The story carried itself. And so this is my fiction foray and I love it. I love these girls. I love writing for them. They've become some of my best friends. And lastly, this is my best-selling book. It's not my favorite book, but I love it because other people love it. And so yeah, I guess those are my favorites of the 38 because they were a lot of firsts and a lot of healing and a lot of, I can do what I didn't think I could do.
And so that seems like a pretty important message, right? So in order to, if anyone wanted to approach the self-help field through publishing and taking an opportunity to explore healing through writing, it's about conveying your stories. Between the two of you, it sounds like there's a real message here for how much catharsis comes through that published work, how much vulnerability too. I mean, again, I don't know about you guys, but when somebody walks up to me and just read my bio on my website, I'm like, oh, okay, I said that, huh? And so it's an interesting moment to kind of come up and look at the lessons as published material. Now, do either of you have excerpts from any of your books that you're like, yeah, this was maybe not a favorite, but an important statement within any of your works? Corby?
Oh, there's a little bit in everything. It depends. Do you want serious or do you want funny? Clean Out Your Life Closet has some pretty straightforward stuff. I can be funny in it, but the Psychic Yellow Brick Road, these are the stories that we psychics and mediums and channels and all of that tell around the campfire over beer. The whole point of this book is, people go to a museum, but they don't necessarily want to paint or sculpt. This is for people who want psychic guidance, but they don't want to do psychic development themselves. Which is why the backstory of this is good psychic guidance is an art. Don't settle for a forgery. And we, in talking about misconceptions, etc., we've already covered a lot of this stuff, but the things that I go over here are things like what to watch out for. We've talked about drive-by shootings. We've how to handle an off-message psychic reading. And so people really have already heard this from me. What I will say is the parts that people love are when getting a reading won't help. And that's things like the client feels they absolutely must hear a certain answer to a question. And that's that whole thing, does Bruce love me? So this book is so much the way I talk that in our times doing Teen Crones, you've probably heard all of my good excerpts already. That's the thing. For Katrina to be able to write beautifully, what's the word I'm looking for? Macramade, as in weaving everything together. Fiction. I've tried fiction. It's not my bag. I am a storyteller from my own life, which is why I will probably always choose the nonfiction stuff over the fiction. I'd love to hear a couple of Katrina's favorites from the fiction stuff.
I don't really have any. The first chapter of Daughters of Avalon I really love. It's actually the prologue, and I think it's some of the best writing that I've done, but it's contextual, so reading a little bit of it probably wouldn't make much sense. There's a scene in the movie Romancing the Stone with Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas, where Kathleen Turner she plays the author Joan Wilder. And she's typing and she has her headphones on and she's writing her next book and she's just sobbing. And that's, I think, the opening of the movie is her sobbing and typing. And then when she's done, she types the end and she goes, that was so good. And sometimes you get into that space where you write something and you're going, oh my gosh, this is so good. I'm never going to stop. If I go to sleep right now, I'll never be in this zone again. And one of the best hints I ever got from anyone, and I can't remember where I got it, I wish I could, is that when you are really in the zone and writing and you have to stop, you have an appointment, or you've got to go to sleep because you're dying, you never finish the sentence. You write half the sentence and walk away. And when you come back, you'll be able to get right back into the zone. And I doubted that, and it's true. But it absolutely works. But I don't really have excerpts, but I really love all of the books. Each of the girls means something special to me. It's a channeled work. So when I'm working with the Daughters of Avalon, they are right there over my shoulder telling me their story. When I got to Aster, now each of the stories in Daughters of Avalon is also a classic fairy tale. And so Rose of Avalon is the Beauty and the Beast story. Aster of Avalon is the Mulan story. Iris of Avalon is the Snow White story. And Lily of Avalon is the Alice in Wonderland story. And they're revisited in an adult fashion. And so when I was writing Aster's story, which is the Mulan story, Rose I'd written, and she was very much like me. So it was easy to write her because we saw the world the same way. We interact with people the same way. Aster was totally different from me. She's very masculine. She's very almost without gender. She's very militant. She's a warrior. And I was having trouble relating to her. And I kept wanting to put romance into her story because the first two books had a lot of sex and they had a lot of romance. And I thought my readers have come to expect this. But anytime I would lead her in that direction, she would get very angry. And she would say, do you want to tell my story or your story?
Wow.
And I would have to pull right back in and say, yes, ma'am, let's do it. And get right back into what she wanted me to say about her story. And that was a huge lesson for me in writing fiction, which is sometimes your characters are very specific about how they want their story told. Stephen King, he has an amazing book called On Writing that is the ultimate guide to writing, especially writing fiction. And he says, kill your darlings. And he was the one that taught me that even if you love a character profoundly, sometimes the story demands that you kill them off. And that was one of my hardest, was when I killed one of my favorite characters.
Okay. Oh. Well, and to your point of channeling and bringing things through, Corby, you've had channeled work as well regarding past lives, isn't that correct? As you participated with, was it Robert Schwartz?
Yes, Robert Schwartz, his books, Your Soul's Plan, Your Soul's Gift, and he's got another one coming out in a few months called Your Soul's Love that I've also been a channel for one of the chapters in there.
So bringing through that channeled information, for maybe this is a question for both of you. Katrina, you spoke to a little bit of the authenticity of it all. But what does that process feel like? I mean, I imagine it's the same or similar to bringing through any book, fiction or nonfiction. There is a process of channeling. So are you candles lit, I've smudged, I've bathed, or is it just like quick and dirty? Like, we just got home, rips off clothes, gets to the keyboard and what's that like? Corby, what about the channeled work? What's that like?
Well, this work is not particularly channeled per se, though in my chapter on getting clear with spirit, I did pull a quote from my own personal spirit guide. Let me see if I can find it. This is the part where I explain getting clarity is a three-legged stool. Getting clear on your purpose, getting clear with your relationships, and getting clear with spirit. So let's see. Okay. People ask me about clarity of spirit all the time, but it's a difficult idea to grasp. I spoke with a fellow master intuitive. I called a Jesuit priest who's a close friend. I chatted with folks in the entrepreneurial community. I even sat with my own guides on the subject. Everybody I approached came up with a different answer. Does that mean clarity of spirit is unique to the individual? I think so. The difference is in the details. As the right and wrong of seeking spirit diminishes, you'll find yourself growing both calmer and lighter. The black and white of the world ceases to badger you from morning till night. There is compassion for all beings and an understanding that the reasons the world is the way it is don't need to be solved this minute. What did my own guide Baruchiel have to say on the subject? You will find clarity of spirit when you acknowledge, accept, and rejoice in the fact that you are not your body, not your mind, not your experiences. You are and always have been part of the ineffable whole, unceasing, unchanging, non-judging. When you feel in balance and complete, when you feel that you are one with all that is, there is clarity of spirit. Spirit in the human soul understands the impermanence of all. Because all things are coming to be and passing away, attention is placed on that which abides. That which abides in the human soul is formed of charity, compassion, love, and the understanding of the interconnection with all those sharing your reality. Now that's a different voice than mine. That would not be mistaken for this slightly upstate New York comedian. That's Dick Fruit. So, yeah, when I'm stuck on a passage, sometimes I'll get really quiet and say, what am I trying to say here? And down it comes. That's how I do channel work, if you will. So there's a thread of it through my books, but I can't say that I had channeled a book the way Oren and Daben did opening to channel, or Esther Hicks channels Abraham. So.
Okay. All right. So there's a natural process and flow to it. Katrina, what are your thoughts on process?
I have a different process for fiction than I have for nonfiction. Fiction often feels very laborious to me because of all the citations I have to include, because of having to make certain that you're getting particular facts correct. But my husband Eric has always said that fiction is harder to write than nonfiction, because with fiction, you have to remember the lies you told. And that's especially true with with a series like Seven Sisters of Avalon, because in each of the books, I'm describing a set of scenes that they share, and that's how the books begin. Then they go off on their own story. So I've got to remember that I described a character this way, or that I paired these people up and they left together. And that's in a book that I wrote 6 years ago. So there's a lot of memory work. But with nonfiction, it's just copious notes and notes and notes and notes and notes and planning, and a lot of outlining to put things in the right places. And then you get it to your editor, who says, I don't like it here, I want you to move it there. And then you've got to rearrange the whole thing. So, my process is exhausting with nonfiction. It's really about reminding myself, did I eat? Did I bathe? Did I see other people? I've been writing for 16 hours. I need to get up and walk around. So if I had not, I was contracted to write Uncrossing. And if we had not had the quarantine, it literally would never have gotten written. Wow. That was the only way I was able to get that book written, was that we were quarantined March, April, May, and June. So, but with fiction, that's more of sitting down and just turning on the factory. And so I enjoy that a little bit more. A lot of times I'll rush in from work or doing something else. My channel is there and she's like, you're late, sit down, we got to work. I was going to tell you this and this, but we don't have time now. So I've got to just tell you this. And so it's basically me taking dictation with the fiction. So that's a little bit easier. Okay. They have told me so many things about their story. I never would have been smart enough to orchestrate on my own.
Now you see, how you do fiction is how I do nonfiction. Because it's storytelling, it's just that I lived it. It isn't a character. But it's, for me, it's not the research and the footnotes. It's really, like I said, sitting around the campfire and saying, all right, once upon a time, there was an idiot at a psychic fair. Once upon a time, I was really stupid about sugar and I had to learn that it was a shot across the bow. So I think part of it is because your nonfiction work is so specific in its teaching that for you, the research and the footnotes, et cetera, is important. I guess that mine is if you will, softer teaching. Not that yours is nasty and hard, but yours is chewy, and maybe mine's just, a little fluffier. I don't know.
Well, I think that it's, between the two authors, it's a kind of conversation. This is something that I've run across as people, people will just run around and be like, oh, you should write a book. And it's as if it's like going to the store and picking something up. And the repeat message being, your words will resonate with who they need to resonate with, right? So to me, that's the theme. Now, with authorship, it sounds like, if I'm hearing you both correctly, there's some sort of healthy balance between what my audience wants and what I have to share. Do you feel like either of you, that weighs heavier on like what will people think of this before I put it out, or is it more importantly just to get it out? Katrina, thoughts?
I think mine stopped with the audience concerns along about book 3 or 4.
Okay.
I used to be a lot more concerned. And one of the things that Llewellyn says is don't read your reviews. And that's hard. The Amazon reviews are absolutely brutal. I have a book that I love that I wrote called Spiritual Childbirth, because I was a midwife, apprenticed as a midwife for several years. I worked as a doula. I taught childbirth classes for 20 years. And I loved the Spiritual Childbirth book. But for some reason, a lot of people saw spiritual childbirth and immediately assumed it was Christian. And so it was where it was more universal. And so that book has something like 2 or 3 stars on Amazon because of people kind of smacking it around due to it not being Christian based. And so I really had to let go of my thoughts of what the audience is going to think and just tell the story, whether I'm writing fiction or nonfiction. And I butted heads with my editor a few times, for instance, on Crossroads of Conjure and on Brujeria, the book Brujeria, because her experience was not the same as mine. And of course, this is a person who is an acquisitions editor who reads hundreds of metaphysical books in a year. So she has a huge breadth of knowledge. And we were having a conversation in the book about what I was taught by 3 different people from Mexico was the difference in a witch's jar and a witch's bottle. And I was taught that a witch's bottle is a blessing bottle, or a spell bottle. It's basically like a mojo bag that's ever growing in a bottle. And that a witch's jar is punitive, that's something that you bury that's got the glass and the gopher dust and all that in it. And she didn't agree with that. She had a completely different explanation for what that was. And it took me a lot to rewrite that and still feel like I was following the integrity of what I was taught, but to get over that hump with her, because man, she was a pit bull with that. She wasn't going to let it go. So that was a tough one. So sometimes, part of it is, who is your audience? If your audience is an editor who you have specifically entreated to make this the best package possible, then you do have to be concerned about what's happening with your work, and trust that they do know what they're going for. If it's the audience, as in the reader, I don't give that a whole lot of thought as to what anybody's going to think of me.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Wow, though, Amazon is a very unique place. I've seen people complain about page quality and rate books low for it's a Shark Tank.
But there's something to that, though, because I do publish a lot of ebooks, and I do my own formatting, my own prepping for uploading and for publishing ebooks. And there are certain things you have to do to make that pagination flow. And for instance, if you have tables in your book, The tables will almost never resolve correctly if a person is reading it on a phone or if they're reading it on a tablet. And so you have to make it easy for your readers to enjoy the book. So in a way that kind of is on the writer, because for most Amazon writers, they are the ones doing the formatting.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, just to
things I had
say.
no idea. I just thought I just thought people were being harsh. So, but it sounds like there's there's a story there.
I sent back Bob Harper's book because of that.
Oh,
And I love Bob Harper, but he, the weight loss guy from Biggest Loser, but he had his, you couldn't even read his charts, his tables. And I thought, this is kind of vital information. I need to see this. And the quality of the book is such that it's not resolving.
huh. Okay. Yeah. Corby, audience input and your target reader, how much does that weigh in?
Well, I know that everything I've written so far, what people have asked me to write, they always are asking questions. It's, how did you get through the life you've lived? That's Life Closet. Wow, all your career stuff. What's it like being a psychic? That's Psychic Yellow Brick Road. And how the hell did you make money on the road? That's the third one, which of course came out in March of the year of Hold My Beer. It's How to Be Great at a Holistic Expo. So obviously hasn't sold a lot of copies yet. So I am, in that sense, both writing for me and writing for what the audience has requested. As far as the Amazon thing goes, I know what my strengths are. It's not that. So all of my books, I have worked with the fabulous Bernie Jung, and she is the one that's been my editor and puts it up on Amazon and does the pagination for me. And I pay her and I adore her and I send her chocolate covered strawberries because thank you, I can't do this. The one thing that I did for the first book, I wish I had the money to do it for the other two, is I did my own audiobook, because to me, if this book is what I'm passionate about, you want to hear it in my voice. A fiction book, it's different because those are characters, but this is my life I'm reading to you about. And so I can put more passion behind it than anybody else. So that I did myself. Cathedral Studios here in Albany, they're really good, but it was $6,000. Am I ever going to make that back? Probably not. So is it a vanity project? Sort of.
But I helped. I have it. I have it. I helped with that.
Okay. If I die from a car accident tomorrow, my voice is out there. People will not only be able to read my words, but they'll hear what they meant to me. And that's important. It's probably one of the, would I like to be published by Llewellyn or Weiser or Simon & Schuster? Of course I would. But I was told, well, if you've already written the book, nobody wants it. And so you have to come up with another one. And again, with the books that the agent wanted me to write were not my books. And so I just said, I can't do this. I know what I want to write and I know that they're useful. On Amazon, it's a shame that unless you have 50 reviews, they kind of put your books on the back shelf behind the pickles. So I don't get the attention that I would like to get, but I have to leave that to the universe. The books were the right ones to get out there. The big reboot will be written this year because I meant to write those books. That's just how I have to look at it. Generally, the audience that reads the book, whichever one, they love it. But I don't know how to flog them, so I don't.
Well, and it sounds like between the two of you don't necessarily have to, right? It sounds like you're both sort of finding, I mean, I get tickled every time I find one of your books somewhere. So I know I was at the used bookstore. It was hardly used. It's Second and Charles, right? So they're owned by Books A Million, so not used. But I found Katrina's book in there on the shelf, and I was like, no way. And Corby's book, I've had him in both books in my own shop as people come in, and they've been a welcome relief as people come in and go, well, how do I know a psychic is the real deal? I just be like, here you go. Read several pages about how to figure that out. Saves me a lot of time, So it sounds like these works, energetically, they are available, and the people that need to find them do. It's one thing I appreciate about you both is that you have published work, but you aren't beating people or flogging them. As Corby put, you aren't beating people over the head saying, buy my book. It's just like, hey, you heard me talk about this topic. And if you want to hear more, here it is. I took the time to write it down for you, and you can have it forever. So it's your authorship between the both of you it's pretty amazing, regardless of the numbers and the social proof. So we are let's see, we have some comments here. We have audience participation, and Rob Abbott has said, these ladies have helped me validate my very existence in their vast knowledge and experiences, and their all-around humanitarian approaches. Rob, that is an awesome and deep and wonderful comment. Thank you.
I just want to say that Rob is an amazing healer, reader, and medium in his own right. He owns Mystical Mojo, and he is phenomenal. He's one of our, if you go to teaandcrones.com, he's one of our Crone recommended links, and he's amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Great shout out for Rob. So is there anything about, maybe people don't really tell you, that you came across as you guys were putting these materials together? Was there anything that like, oh shit, I need to make sure I have that for the next several books that I will write? Katrina, you're kind of nodding your head. What have you got?
I don't have any next several books. Actually, so when I wrote Uncrossing, I accidentally wrote it. What happened was I was presenting at PantheaCon, which was one of my favorite places to present. It was a conference that used to happen in San Jose every year. And I was teaching on Uncrossing, and I just wanted a little tiny book that I was going to self-publish that just had the bullet points and some ideas for the people who attended. It was going to be a gift for them. And so I have an exclusivity contract with Llewellyn. So I contacted my editor and I said, hey, listen, as a heads up, I wanted to run this through. It's not a full book. This is just what I was thinking of doing. Are you cool with that? And she wrote back, oh, I'd really like to pitch that. Can you flesh it into a full book? And I was like, shit, because I really thought I was done writing books. But like I said, I didn't have time. And so I kind of got suckered into writing that one, and I'm glad that I did. It worked out to be a great project, and I'm happy that I did. And so I was thinking, but that is absolutely the last one. I'm not writing any more books. And then on the way home last night, I came up with this idea and told Eric about it, and he really liked it. So I wrote to my editor and I pitched the idea of, there was a book back in, I want to say the 80s, by Ellen Everett Hopman called People of the Earth. And it's a compilation of interviews and bios from all of the contemporary pagan leaders. So you had Oberon Zell in there, and Selena Fox and Isaac Bonowitz and all of these different pioneers, because that was in the 80s. That's when it was really huge. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we had one for now? Who's writing the important blogs now? Who are the important books now? What is the voice of modern paganism? And so I pitched that to her, but that'll be, if she accepts it, that would be easier because it's not me doing all the writing. But I really thought I was done. So there was and is going to be no up and coming. I really thought that writing was something I was going to finish out this series with the next 3 books and be done. because it's hard. It's laborious and the time just isn't there anymore. I don't even remember what your question was.
So
I'm
the
sorry.
behind the scenes on this in terms of book writing is don't tell your editor when you have ideas.
Never have a good idea ever and share it with your editor. Correct. Never.
Oh, that's funny. Corby, any
Yes.
behind the scenes
Yeah.
words of wisdom?
Oh, I'd kill to have an editor tell me that they want me to pitch a book. You know, to me, that might be a mecca. But behind the scenes work, when I did Clean Out Your Life Closet, that's a trilogy. The idea is you clean out your closet, then what do you put back in it? And now what you gonna wear? So that's Clean Out Your Life Closet, the big reboot, and Be Your Own Masterpiece. So this year I need to write the big reboot. And its priorities, the philosophy of asking, gaining your thriver's license, seizing passion, and focus, not blinders. Now that was the 2019 version. Now that we have just gone through the year of Murder Hornet Bingo, it's going to probably need to be not just tweaked, it probably needs to be Rubik cubed. You know, where am I putting it back?
Right.
But I just had my annual astrology with probably one of the best damn astrologers on the planet. Her name is Pat Dumas, and she's out in York, Pennsylvania. And she said, you had better have a book to write this year because everything is pointing to that with sirens and strobe lights. And I said, yeah, I don't want to write. Sorry. So that's the point with me. When I write now, when I write at this point, it's not right now. I'm looking at the world and saying, what can I give them that will help them through the tough stuff that we're going to be facing in the next 20 years? You know, I refer to it like the Troubles. The Troubles were the 30-year period in Ireland where the IRA was bombing every Tuesday. Globally, we're going to have a time like the Troubles. And I want to give people what I know to give them strength and resilience and hope that isn't, let's see what your angels have to say, which makes me want to vomit. I do it from you know, here's the truth, kids, unvarnished. So in that sense, how the world runs and what we have to face is the underlying research that I'm always doing. What's bubbling to the top that we all are going to get smacked in the face with. That makes sense?
It does make sense. So it sounds like there's also an opportunity here for books to be born before their time. So between the two of you, you've kind of constantly reiterated, you know, getting your work out there just because it is what is called for, what would be supportive, what is, you know, a topic to be researched and brought into a space of truth, so that it holds up when people actually go to implement their practices. And again, I you know, I can't say enough positive things about you guys, but I think it sounds like the wrap up is get your book out. This is a great time to publish. Let's see, what else did you guys go over? We got to see a difference here between self-publishing versus you know, the traditional publishing route. Binding your own books, Jesus, I mean, the paper cuts. And then it sounds like there's also an element here of community, right? So either your editorial community is the people that read your books and give you feedback for the work, or having a team in place like an editorial team to say, you know, I don't like this, I don't like that. Either way, that community manifests around your authorship, and so it's a pathway forward. And then staying true to your heart is something that I was hearing both of you get into, not only true to your heart, but true to the work. So whether it's a channeled piece versus something that you lived, which essentially you're channeling yourself, right? So there's something to that. It almost, I mean, a lot of what you guys have said has made me or inspired me to want to, just fucking journal and get it out and see where that leads. I know a lot of conversations that I have tend to, people are like, oh, you know so much, put it in a book. And it's like, that's about a 3-page book. I don't think you want that.
No, I'm going to land on you right there. People said to me, oh my God, you know so much, you're so funny, you should write a book. And that was the impetus that got me to write. Look, your voice is different from ours. People out there that are looking at this video, your voice is different from ours. Your experience is different. Your understanding of the world is different. Your heart is different. We need your words. There is room enough for all of us. Please write. There are 62 bazillion self-help books out there. If I said, oh, well, there are too many, Life Closet would never have been written. I just said, screw it. I have something I want to tell people. And out came the book. If you've got one inside, don't let anyone tell you no. Get writing.
Well said. Well said. And then on Amazon too, most of those books are like $2.99. And so that tells you, and anybody can write anything. So you might as well put what's meaningful to you out into the world, right? So we are winding down here, guys. Any closing thoughts? Any last things that you'd like to share, Katrina?
Again, if you have a message, get it out there. It's Dorothy Parker famously said that writing is the art of applying the ass to the chair. It really is just about showing up and doing it. You don't have to be good yet. You don't even have to know what your book is going to be yet. You sit down and you start putting words onto pixels or onto paper, and eventually a book will usually take form in some way. And it's just, Amazon especially makes it very easy to be published, whether it's a paperback or it's an ebook. You can do it. It's not that hard. It's just getting all those words down. I was shocked when I was picked up by Llewellyn and they said that books should be 50,000 words or more. Okay. Yeah, I was a little stunned by that. And then one of my contemporaries, Jason Mankey, I was talking about how I was writing my book and it was going to be around 68,000 words. He said, oh, mine are usually around 140,000. And I thought, my God, how do you say that much about anything?
38 books.
Well, but yeah, he can just write and write. He was my boss at Pathos Pagan, and he can just write and write. And I'm here trying to come up with topics every week to write a blog that's, 1,200 words long. So I think I'm out of words. That's my point. I'm out of words. I've said enough.
Okay.
No more words.
And the other thing I'm going to tell you, don't be Thomas Jefferson in 1776. There's a scene where you see Jefferson writing the Declaration of Independence, and he writes a page and he looks at it, crumples it up, writes 2 sentences, looks at it, crumples it up, has a blank page, looks at it, crumples it up. Don't get stuck on always writing the first chapter, darling. Please don't try to make it perfect. Just larg the whole book out there. Color outside the lines, make it messy. But when you've gotten the book written, then you go back and make it pretty. Okay.
I do have two other comments to make very quickly. If you do decide to publish a book and you're committed and you're working on it, number one, get a proofreader. And then what you do is you get another proofreader. Preferably you get a third proofreader because they don't always find it all. And so get the proofing. That is so important. And the other thing is, and this is going to sound very elitist, but Google is very full of grammar information. Learn your grammar, please, so that you can get your message across without people being distracted by your shitty grammar and spelling.
Every
Spoken
bad
like a
grammar
true
or
learner.
spelling mistake, they're going to ratchet down your IQ at least 10 points.
You're dumb, you're dumb, you're dumb. Yes. And if you're intimidated by that, just use MS Word and turn on the spell check and pay attention to it. There's also a style check, and it'll tell you, you need to reverse this sentence. It's a passive sentence. You need to make it a direct sentence. And that will make you a better writer. And over time, you will start to do all of those things automatically. But dear baby Jesus in the manger, learn your grammar, please.
Yes.
Lord have mercy.
That's wonderful. And very very reassuring, you know, one of the things that comes to me about all this is you guys offer, there's a spectrum here of authorship, sharing, and publishing works. And for me, as I have a couple sensory things, knowing that there are tools available to catch when, you know, my ADD goes whoop, or you know, I've skipped, sometimes words fall out of the things that I'm saying. So it sounds so simple, but you have no idea how much anxiety you just reduced. So
Well, and also you always want to run your work through a plagiarism check.
oh yeah,
Because there are a lot of things that might stick in your head that you've known for so long that you forget that you read it somewhere else. And you want to make absolutely sure there's no risk of accusations of plagiarism.
absolutely.
And don't ever put song lyrics in your work.
Song lyrics.
Never. Can't do that.
Oh,
Can't do that.
right. All right, my friends. Corby, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think my head's empty for today.
You guys focus on writing and publishing. So I hope that you all have enjoyed your time with us. We had a lot of great insight in the comments. You guys have been wonderful. I'm, you know, between the laughter and the sharing that you all have done in the comment section, again, I really am excited about the community that we're building. And so keep those questions. We've had a couple of recommendations on future episodes, and that's wonderful. We want to hear more from you. If you're having an experience and you're just like, I wonder what the Crones have to say about this, pop on over to Facebook, drop us a line, and we'll talk about it. Will it be tomorrow or next Sunday? Maybe, maybe not, but we will be sure to get to it. Now, as you know, every week, these lovely ladies have events and things that they are engaging with at their respective places. So Katrina at Crossroads and Corby at Fire Through Spirit. You will find all their links in the comments once we close out. Every Thursday night, you will find Katrina and Nelta and Gladys at Witches at the Crossroads on their Facebook Live page. It's an opportunity, an amazing opportunity to get insight, and it's a ball of laughs. I mean, my face usually hurts by the end of the broadcast if I can stay up that long to catch it, because secretly
Ours
I'm
too.
an old lady on the inside. So my bedtime's like 9. And then Corby has a few events coming up in March that are going to be awesome. March 14th is going to be the free reading hour. And March 20th is a group healing class. It's a virtual create your sentence of power, group healing, create your sentence of passion class. In a way it is healing, but it's through words, just in the way that we were talking tonight.
Yes.
Now, I am so excited because Katrina has a healing group coming up. It is, forgive me here, I want to get everything that I'm saying exactly right. So March 21st is when it begins. That is bio-universal healing. So if you've experienced healing work with Katrina, it's an opportunity to learn her modality for yourself. It is a 3-level certification course. Guys, it is like, I think I calculate, is it 24 classes? 8 classes per, yeah. Holy crap. Do you have to do all 3 levels? No, but
no, you can stop they're in increments of 8. And so you can get basic healer, which is 8 classes. You can move on to advanced healer if you choose to, which is another 8 classes. You can move on to master healer, which is another 8 classes. We meet every other week.
So if you get a chance, check it out. Like I said, I will be dropping all the links in the comments. Earlier today, if you heard about some of the authorship that took place that you were interested in, I did drop those book links in the comments as well. Rather, they're Amazon pages, but we will reiterate that. It's at the bottom of every page, every comment section that we have for every video. And again, if you have questions about their process, or topics that you want to see, we want to hear from you. Both of these lovely ladies offer healings and readings. Corby has a number of opportunities with that. Like I said, free reading hour, and I apologize, I missed it. On March 20th and 21st, she'll be doing readings with East West Bookstore. So, you know, if you want to have more of them, you can. They're very accessible. Probably overly so, because, well, I mean, not overly for me, but so with all of that, I hope you guys have enjoyed your evening with us, and we will see you next Sunday. Bye for now.
Be well, stay safe, everyone.